be moving on to our next cryptid, the GOATMAN.
Yeah, and GOATMAN's interesting because he's described as being scaly.
Yeah, which I wasn't aware of that.
With fur scales. And
yeah, that kind of confused me a bit. Most of the depictions that I've read about him, it's essentially a giant satyr.
And so what I will present as an idea that maybe goatmen are Bigfoot that have that same like mange like dogs and coyotes get that make them look all like give that scaled appearance.
I've read, I guess, differing accounts about how the goatman is a cryptid and or some sort of occult figure,
right?
In the sense that you can summon it, and like much like some sort of entity.
Well,
it has a very demonic type of look. But yeah, Daniel, go ahead regarding that.
Yeah, there's a story or an account in the Redfern and Gerhard book where allegedly it was it might have been the Lake Worth monster.
Oh, okay. So
or a goatman, but there was a story where a goatman was released by devil worshiper activities at one point, and brought the goatman into our world from like a hellish plane. Like it's a pretty metal story, But
yeah,
that's the only thing I've seen of Goatman where they talk about that, which is fucking cool though. Like.
We have a little bit to comment on as far as the Lake Worth monster goes, but yeah, that is one of the.
Well, but the thing is, arguably, because the Lake Worth monster is spoken about, at least for the Redfern book, like in the same chapter as the Goatman.
Right.
So I think it might be like a offshoot of it. But as far as geographical sightings, I, really didn't, looking at this list here, like Louisiana makes sense, but Maryland really doesn't. It's just kind of a weird, distribution for Goatman.
And surprisingly, they were all kind of around the same region: Fort Worth, Denton, Dallas. That's all not right. They're all pretty much neighbors, Daniel, I did want to go over real quick
what you got?
A little bit expanding on that devil worshipping instance of the Goatman.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't that involve a bridge that it's supposed to frequent?
Yes. So let me start here. It says Lake Worth is not the only location within the Lone Star State that is associated with the dark and disturbing activities of Goatman-style beasts. Another such creature of distinctly Goatman proportions has been regularly reported at the 1884 built Old Alton Bridge in the town of Denton, which is situated approximately an hour's drive outside of the city of Dallas. One legend says that many years ago, wannabe devil worshippers in an area inadvertently opened up a portal to some hellish realm that allowed the vile beasts open access to our world. And
just a second. Just imagine somebody gatekeeping devil worship.
you know what, Roland? I didn't really catch that. I just thought he was just being kind of.
They're just talking shit or whatever. Yeah, but no, take it from the other angle. Yeah. Imagine, these guys are fucking wannabes.
They're not real devil worshippers like me.
Like us. Oh man. Okay, sorry.
And continuing on. And now today, and as a direct result of this reckless action, the Goatman has no intention at all of returning to the twilight zone from which he originally appeared. Hence his deep desire to forever haunt the old steel and wood bridge at Denton.
There are quite a few mockumentary style videos or whatever concerning. And I think there was a Ghost Adventures episode too where they went out there and tried to summon the Goatman. And so there's what I meant to say is there's quite a bit of media that folks can find if they want to get a better handle of the area.
Well, and Roland, you may not know this, but it's talked about in the Monsters of Texas book, which is underpinning a lot of this episode so far. But there is a Goatman festival.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure how regular it is or whatever, cool. But apparently Nick Redfern dragged his wife out there because he even talks about it in the book where he's like, I took my wife, and I can't remember her name. He's like, whose interest in cryptozoology is minimal, to put it politely.
Oh, that's awesome.
But apparently they got a bunch of fun stuff, even for like the kiddos and shit. And it's just this, day, I think it's a day-long event. But it seems fun, Could be a MoQuest Live thing, maybe.
I'd love to check that out. Absolutely.
It's just such a drive because like
MoQuest on the road
there.
Yeah. Well, that's fucking Texas for you, dude.
Well, yeah. But...
Yep. I mean, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. But this is just, what do you expect?
I do want to get into the characteristics of the Goatman. So what does he look like? What does he smell like? What are his hobbies? What's his favorite color?
Yeah, right. Does he have a Tinder profile?
Daniel, you had mentioned that he had scales. Like, I wasn't aware of that particular characteristic of him.
Yeah, until this book, I thought he was just like a goat, like a furry looking dude that had horns. And that was it. I didn't know they had like supposed to have a scaly appearance, which is cool.
I've only read that, but like as a passing detail. Like I've never, as far as accounts that folks have tried to talk about describing it.
Are these land roaming mermaids?
It's always it's always like just a giant, goat humanoid type sort of figure. I don't usually read about them describing it having some sort of scales or anything. I really like the mange theory that you're coming up with there, though.
Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, because it could be.
It's certainly like an easy association to make to the fact that these things apparently reek like living ass or whatever. So
yes, and as another point for their features,
to groom themselves very, very quite
I
so well.
believe that goatmen are also bipedal because there are some cryptids that will seem to be habitually bipedal, but they do have elements of quadrupedalism.
Right.
Like one of the cryptids we're going to talk about later that, seen standing on two, but typically its locomotion is done by four.
Right.
Yeah.
But just so in case anyone out there sees a goat man, they from this description, they will probably be bipedal.
Right. Hey, he's on 4 legs. That's not a goat man. That's a crawler.
Once again, the Redfern book talked about them, or at least one of the accounts. I think it was for the lake monster specifically, but description that it's much like Pan from mythology.
Correct.
Right.
And they also do a cool link, because Pan apparently would inspire dread in people, which is what goatmen are supposed to do as well.
I mean, sure. I don't know. I
didn't source it. I'm just going off of the word of our god Redfern.
Sure.
But
just to throw out coming from the opposite side here, I'm sure you've come across this too, Daniel. Just standard mythologies. Pan's described as a party guy. He's a big old hornball or whatever. He likes to just get drunk and have fun for the most part and get laid. So as far as the inspiring terror or any of that kind of thing, that's a little new to me. But I could attribute that to maybe the more sort of like Christian evolution of Pan, because as you know, like Pan was a part of pagan rituals and whatnot, and so as a way to demonize, and discourage those types of beliefs and ceremonies and whatnot, they would take the features of their particular worship and just twist them. So in the case of Pan, of course, that's where you get like Baphomet, the horned demons, those kinds of things, derivations, right? I think so. If I'm not mistaken, then I could see how that might be explained at that point, but that's still kind of. I'm just trying to make sense of that. It's like I said, that's a little new to me.
There was one instance where I was told of a story of the Goatman here in San Benito, and that was behind this building called Sunny Glen off the expressway. There's some like dirt roads back there, and we did attempt to go and look for it at some point. We drove back there like close to like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Sat there for about an hour, see if maybe we saw anything. Obviously, we did not. But the instance was, or the incident that occurred was that some relatives of a friend of mine were going home. They lived in a trailer, and they happened to see a goat man cross the path of the dirt road kind of stopped in the middle of the light, did its little. I'm assuming that's what it did.
He's just like dancing and
this
shit.
is just my storytelling here.
River
Okay?
dancing.
Yeah. And then ran off. They kind of freaked out. They drove back to their trailer. Then they heard some gunshots coming from a neighbor, right? The gentleman walked over to his neighbor's trailer, saw him sitting on his porch or whatever porch he had on a chair with the gun in his hand, saying that there's something out there that's like messing with his animals or something. So he was going to kill it or something.
It ain't right.
And they just heard gunshots throughout the night, but they didn't hear anything else after that. And the man didn't speak about it any further. So that was the only instance of the quote unquote GOATMAN. Mind you, it wasn't officially called the GOATMAN. They just said it looked like a goat man, like partial goat, partial man, whatever.
So,
but that was the only time I heard about it here in my town.
I just wanted to comment that it's funny you mention somebody shooting at him, because I very rarely ever read any accounts of people actually taking a shot at a cryptid or something. They're typically they run away, or the person that runs away, or the cryptid leaves, or that kind of thing.
Well,
but I always thought it was strange though, because this is Texas and everybody has fucking guns,
right?
So.
Well, I mean,
even if
Texans
you're scared running for your
than we thought.
Well, there was an instance regarding the Bigfoot where some kids saw him near a golf course or something, and they shot him like 8 times, but of course it didn't do anything to the Bigfoot.
Right.
I think
guns and cryptids like never mix in the ways that people intend. Like,
right. So a lot. I've only read like 1 or 2 accounts of people taking aim at like Sasquatch and stuff, and I think most of the times it just pissed it off. Yeah, and a few here and there of other examples, but for the most part, I'm always surprised because like a lot of these people, quite a few of them are purported hunters, and so just I don't know, like people see weird stuff, they're gonna shoot at it necessarily. I mean, yeah, you're gonna want to be careful, but at the same time too, like I wouldn't put it past somebody to be like, put that up on my wall kind of stuff, like I remember, I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but like in Edinburgh, there used to be a doctor that I would go to, and in the lobby, he had up on the wall, like, cause he was a hunter. So he had up on the wall, all these taxidermied fucking animals, like just, at one point, there was a grizzly bear pelt, a full fucking pelt splayed on the wall, like with the head and everything attached. It was fucking awesome. But
that's pretty badass.
It was, you'd sit under these things too. I remember one time I sat under like a javelina head, a full fucking thing, and like he had antelope, he had all kinds of shit. And I'm just sitting, I didn't think of it, anything of it. I just thought, oh, this is cool. I'm a kid, whatever. And then after years later, I'm just like, okay, yeah, no, that's a little different, and it's like, oh, okay, wait, Texas. All right, So yeah, it's just strange to me that, we don't have more instances of okay, say, they don't even kill it. Say they just maim it, you would think that they see, more evidence that it was wounded. Maybe it was bleeding or, some kind of, and that's another thing too. Same said, hunters are typically, fairly, I would assume fairly competent in their tracking, because in the sense of when you're hunting an animal, say it bolts on you after you wound it, you follow the damn thing, until it either loses or runs out of energy or it dies from blood loss, those kinds of things. And so you're going to look for those, markings on the trails, those sorts of things. And so I never hear of people finding any kind of like path to follow or some kind of evidence left behind for them to keep looking. It's always just like, oh, they were just wandering around and shit, in the woods trying to look for these things. It's like, what? So it's very strange to me that we don't have more evidence, I'd say, as far as all of these things go, just in Texas alone.
Well, that puts every cryptid into question, though, doesn't it? I mean, you think by now there'd be a lot of evidence of a lot of these things, like official,
as opposed to all the dog shit videos that everyone always puts on YouTube and Reddit and everywhere else. They're just like, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing with your fucking Nokia or some shit?
There's TikTokers right now getting like like crazy ghost footage right now over there in like Pakistan and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, that's fun.
And yet here, all we're doing is doing Randonautica stuff, you know. So
yeah. So,
anyways,
I just my rant's over there. It was just something that is bugging me, and that I wanted to get a chance to,
just beware. And again, a lot of times when we talk about cryptids, we are doing this as kind of a information for those who live in certain areas. If you happen to see one of these creatures, and unless you've heard it from someone else or you've heard it from us, particular ways to protect yourself, it's best that you run.
Right.
But take out your camera and like film behind you at least, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Don't forget.
Don't forget to take out your camera though.
You dumb bitch.
I mean, for God's sakes, like everyone can take out their camera and record fairly quickly. So
yeah,
you can run with that thing like just behind you like that, you know? So
yeah, just turn on selfie mode or whatever.
Yeah.
Be running and
everybody
shit
does
with
it. Just do it.
Face.
Just fucking do it already. You know what? And I'm going to encourage people, if they don't have some sort of like gun or knife or something on them and they're gonna run, film it, but most people should have some sort of light source. So turn on your light too, so you can get a good image quality if you're in the fucking dark. Just do it.
We need to get some drones going. I want to go back to that place, Ray, and take
get
Jamie's
a GoPro.
fucking
If you're going to go run in White Rock
night
Lake
vision.
or some kind of place like that, make sure you strap that shit to your head. Make sure you have a light on you, and then boom, like we will have this footage. Even if you get mangled to death, that shit will be up in the cloud, and we can all see it. And then we can all prepare.
Why is it only the people with
a
a fucking plan are the ones that never find shit?
know,
And it's
right?
always the motherfuckers that are just like taking a shit in the middle of nowhere or something that
I
come
literally
across.
got my GoPro on me at all times. I got like 2 cameras going at all times.
Yeah.
Man. Come on. Something
I don't get it.
that I can see
I don't get it. I don't
from
get
the
it.
safety of my
Logically.
car, outside of my car. Please just do that. Like
just waiting for it. Or
I
whatever.
can't be outside walking when I see this shit because like I'm not gonna run, right? I'm not in the shape to do that. I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah. Accept your fate, Ray.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
hey.
guess. But for the good of Valley Strange, for the good of the world, I guess I'll have to
Exactly.
sacrifice myself for that.